We're snorting cap rates and shooting up cash flow here at Deal Junkies. Welcome back to Deal Junkies. We're back in the studio. Trevor's got a big smile on his face. Mike's taking a sip of his latte.
Lavender latte.
Somebody's pointed out recently he looks like he hasn't showered or shaved in the last 2 weeks. That's not true, though. I think you look good, Mike.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And that would be our special guest today, Jesse Nguyen. None other than Jesse Nguyen, 26-year-old phenom, just from south of Philly in a state you've never heard of called Delaware, where people set up LLCs, except for Elon no longer will set up LLCs in Delaware.
Elon.
A1. Not A1.
Erwan.
Erwan's a great grocery store. Okay, so Jesse, welcome to the show. So tell us about what's the name of your company? Delaware Home Buyers?
Yeah, we're Delaware Home Buyers.
And this is your company?
Yeah, me and my partner Kenny, we own it.
And so you guys are you're out doing all sorts of stuff, but wholesaling is sort of your forte, or how do you make your money in real estate?
Wholesale, fix and flip, hotel. So it's like
hotel.
It's like we take it down and then toss it back onto the retail market, light rehab, 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
That sounds like something Elon would do.
Elon's a wholetailer.
Hotel. Okay, you're going to have to tell us more about this. So Jesse and Trevor are friends. Jesse flew in today to be on this podcast with you. Thanks for joining us. We're going to dive into your mind, your brilliant mind, to find out how you got to where you got to and how you make all this money.
Well, Jesse has a lot of interesting stories because you have an interesting career trajectory where you were buying deals and you had all your goals there, and then you were flipping houses kind of poorly, right, for a while.
Yeah, no, actually, my first deal, I made $100,000, so okay. I thought I was really good at flipping houses.
Yeah, so let's start with how you got into real estate, because you have some crazy deal stories, and you bought 10 deals while in college.
I had a guy pay me $12,000 to get his house subject to one time. That was freaking crazy.
So we got to talk about some of that stuff. But tell us what got you into real estate and how you got started with your deals.
So originally I got into real estate because I was cleaning houses for my aunt and uncle. They were burning houses between 2014 and 2017, so I was the designated grass cutter. I was the young nephew cutting the grass, listening to podcasts while cutting the grass, cleaning the houses after the construction was complete. They never really bought direct to seller. They bought foreclosures. I guess foreclosures were going heavy in New Jersey at this point in time, so they were doing full gut renovations, and my uncles were also part of the business, and they were doing the construction. So my dad actually worked for 5 years straight as a laborer for my aunt and uncle, and they were basically like the masterminds, putting up the money, structuring the deals, whatever, doing, guaranteeing all the notes, and then paying everybody. And I was listening to Bigger Pockets, hundreds of hours of Bigger Pockets. My buddy Brandon, Brandon Turner, he had inspired me to get into pursuing financial freedom through buying rental property. And this was the whole thing where I was just like, man, if I could just buy 20 to 50 to 100 units and cash flow $500 per door, I'll be set. I don't need to work. And it's like, that's basically, undeveloped frontal lobe. Is that what they say? That's like, so what happens when you get to the point?
Hey, it's relative. That's very developed somewhere else on the spectrum.
How old were you when this was all happening?
I was 17.
Oh, okay.
I was 17.
Oh, yeah, that's not underdeveloped. That's pre-developed.
That's pre-developed.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool. They inspired me to get into real estate, but I wanted to go the route of selling real estate as an agent, and my aunt and uncle were like, no, you're going to college, focus on that, go buy deals in your 30s like us. They wanted me to follow in their footsteps. And I thought that was pretty lame. I mean,
I was thinking they're like the best thing ever. Where was my aunt and uncle telling me to go buy houses?
Yeah. Well, I'm 26 now, and I have to wait another 7 more years to go start buying deals because they were about 33. So in my pre-developed frontal lobe mind, or is it frontal cortex?
I have no idea. We do deals, dude. We don't do it.
We don't know anything about brains.
I don't know anything about brains either, obviously. So I was like, I'm going to go sell real estate, make money this way, and then have this money go buy deals or just focus on real estate. How hard could it be? But I still went to college. And my sophomore year of college, that summer, I went driving for dollars with my buddy from church. His dad had flipped 90 houses. He owned a HVAC company, flipped 90 houses on the side from 4 years, across 4 years span, from 2015 to 2019. He was like, if you guys find the deal, I'll help you guys find the money and mentor you guys do the construction. Just go find the deal. Because at this time, we thought finding deals was the hardest thing ever.
Dude, like rich dads just grew on trees around you, huh?
Yeah, this guy barely spoke English. His name, so my friend's name was Johnny. His dad's name was also Johnny. So it's like, but it's like Johnny's dad, literally, it's like we were just communicating in most basic English. Imagine, just meeting Juan down the street and he's telling you how to buy houses. That was literally. That's basically, imagine in your mind what that sounds like. That's exactly what it was. It's that easy.
Can you tell us, enact it for us?
So you're saying it's really easy to buy houses?
Let me give you guys an impression. Okay.
Okay.
Jesse, Johnny, you go find house, cheap, $60,000. $50,000 repair, go sell 200, make money. And I was like, where money come from, Johnny? And because his name is also Johnny. And he's like, no worries, call Glenn. Glenn was the loan officer at the local hard money lending company, charging 12%, 4 points.
Mm-hmm.
Like, damn. I've always been of the philosophy, go get private money. 10 to 12% flat, no points, no doc fee, whatever. So this first deal, me and Johnny, the son, Johnny Jr., we're going in this neighborhood. It's called Chestnut Hill Estates. This is where all the flippers are flipping. I just had this, for some reason my mind was working in that way where it's like, I just want to be in the neighborhoods where everyone's flipping houses, because that's probably where all the ugly houses were. We're looking in this neighborhood and we see this giant bush in front of a house. I was like, where's the house? There's no house here. It's like, no, it is. It's right behind the bush. We use our app, Deal Machine. We mail them. And 6 weeks later, we got a call back from the house behind the bush. 10 West Stephen Drive, Newark, Delaware, 19713. This is the deal. We negotiate with the sellers. And I was like, man, this is like $100,000 remodel. And like the couple's name was George and Sharon. They were washing dishes out of their bathtub because for years the plumbing inside their kitchen was shot. And there was a contractor that ripped them off, so they didn't even have floors in this bathroom. They had carpet on the walls. This was a really effed up house. 5 bedroom, 2 bathroom, 2,700 square foot crib. We made them an offer for $65,000. No. It was we were like, okay, we're gonna offer them $65,000. We wanted to get up to that point, so we started off at 55, and they were like, "Can you guys do 60?" And I was like, "Yeah, we could do 60." And when you get your first deal, you're just slowly walking out of the house, and me and Johnny were together, and we get into the car. It's like we're just freaking out, and the car is like, "I can't believe that. What happened? That worked." And you know what's crazy? What's crazy about this couple is like, the guy worked for IRS agent. The woman was a stay-at-home mom. They had 9 kids, and we were in escrow for 4 months. And the week before we had to close, I had to go find the money. I was procrastinating. I've always been a procrastinator. I had to go raise $60,000.
No, you don't come off as a procrastinator at all.
Why didn't you just call Glenn?
I didn't want to pay Glenn his 4 points. And you guess how much this house is worth? It's $260.
All right.
In as is condition?
No, fixed up.
Fixed up.
As is, wholesale, $130. I didn't know how wholesale at this point.
So you did the reno on it.
So I called my dad's second and third cousins, and I was like, "Hey, I need $60,000 plus some closing costs. This house is probably worth $150 as is. Gonna go fix it up. It's gonna be worth $260." And I was like, "Okay, cool." Because my dad, he bought houses from auction in 2004, so they're like, "Okay, there's not that much different. Like father, like son, whatever. Here you go, $60,000." So they gave me $60,000, closed on the house, don't got rehab costs. I go to my friends in college. I got like 3 or 4 friends. I was about to say 3 or 4 amigos, but they're all white.
They can still be amigos.
They're gringos. My 3 or 4 gringos, they loaned me $5,000 a piece. I used that $5,000 to complete 40, 50 grand. Or it was like 20 grand. I completed 40, 50 grand in renovations.
With the 20.
Yeah.
So you borrowed from your friends.
I was taking advantage of that net 30, you know.
Did they charge you 4 points?
I don't even think my contract. No, they charge you 10% APR. I told them the terms. This is what it is. I said the same thing with my dad's cousins. 10% APR. You can't get that at the bank. We're in a low interest rate environment right now.
Oh, I wish I could use those words. Those were such great words back then.
We're in a low interest rate environment.
I'm doing this entire deal. And I get to this point where, oh, damn, I finished 50 grand of construction with 20 grand. But I need to pay my contractor 30 more grand. So I bring my guy, Daniel, who is a missionary. He's just been saving his entire life savings right here. He got like probably 40 grand in the bank. I'm just like, Daniel, I'm literally 10 grand away from finishing this construction project. Can you loan me 30 grand? I'll get it back to you in 2 months. 10% APR. I'm not making
Not flat.
Not flat. APR, very specific, 0.8% a month. This is what you're earning. It's like, we're in a low interest rate environment. This is a great deal. So I get the 30 grand, and I don't know where the rest of the money came from, but I paid off the contractor, and then May of 2020, we sell the house. We sell the house for $260, cash out. Everyone gets paid back. Reputation is great. Put 50 grand in my pocket. Johnny puts 50 grand in his pocket. Make away like bandits.
You're rich.
I know we're rich. You know, okay, let me fast forward like a year later. All right?
Bandit rich.
It's freaking crazy. So I put up a bandit sign in the city of Wilmington. So this is a town. This is like the biggest city in Delaware, whatever, you know. I put a bandit sign up on the street, and this guy named Daniel, he ends up calling me, different Daniel, not my friend Daniel. He calls me and he's like, I got this house. I rent out the rooms. I don't know how to be a landlord. Can you just take this off my hands somehow? And I look at the house. I go walk it. Look at the house. I'm like, dang, this is going to need some work. Like taking a subject to and bringing money to the table don't really make sense. He was like, I could pay you. And I was like, how much? He's like, 18,000. He's like, yes. So we sign it up. Subject to, you know, seller paying buyer $18,000. Use it to cover the closing costs. You know the transfer taxes in Delaware is 4%.
Ooh,
Highest in the country.
that's bad.
It's very bad. Very, very bad.
4% transfer tax.
It used to be 3.
State gets paid like a realtor.
Yeah, they make a broker fee on every deal.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty
So
insane.
that comes off on the closing statement as on your seller closing statement.
Yeah.
Seller pays that.
I'll tell you guys how I go about, you know, still getting my stuff recorded without paying the full transfer tax. But hopefully this podcast doesn't make its way back to Delaware.
One day we'll be famous and they'll hear this.
It's cool. By the time it happens, I'll be long gone. I'll be selling education by that point.
That's what true bandits do.
Okay.
Living in a non-extradition country.
So Daniel signs this contract with me, and then like maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, he's like, man, I don't know. I really want to do this deal. It's like $18,000. I was like, can you do 12? And he's like, okay, fine, 12. You want to do 12? So we actually went to settlement. I pick him up, brings the check, whatever, and we close. I walk away with $5,000 from the settlement after paying all closing costs. And I got the house. And I think I picked up a note. Like the remaining mortgage was like 93 at this point. I think the house is probably worth maybe like $160 to $180 like today. I have a house that I'm rehabbing like maybe 2-3 blocks down the street. I'm selling it for like $200 to $215 rehabbed. It's kind of insane. And the house that I have from Daniel is bigger than the house that I'm selling right now.
How did he find you? You said you put up a sign?
A we buy houses. I had this genius idea because I saw my one friend Tang on Instagram. His office was making handwritten we buy houses sign, and they were drawing the house out with the Sharpie marker and putting some nice, like it was nice coloring and everything. So I got one of my friends from church to make these for me. It looked phenomenal. It looked like an actual person did it rather than, you know, the yellow we buy house signs that look like they're
printed.
Yeah, printed. These were handwritten on both sides. I paid a girl at my church like $1.50 per sign. It was honestly a lot of labor.
What's
$1.50 per sign.
What's the mindset behind having the sign look like it's handmade? Like more people are going to call because it feels like you're going to get a hold of a real person instead of like a very professional looking sign?
Exactly. I didn't even have to say it.
Okay.
It's perfect.
I'm tracking.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the sign and you're just like, wow, it's a pretty nice sign.
It's why people try to come up with handwriting software and stuff to make it look like a letter came to you handwritten. You do those?
We do not do those, actually.
Okay.
We have a different mailing piece I can tell you about later.
All right.
But you know what's crazy about this guy, Daniel, who sold me the crib? He was George and Sharon's son.
So
The fruit does not fall far from the tree.
Who's that?
it's his first deal. The kid of the first deal.
Oh, the kid of the... Oh, no way. Oh.
But he didn't even know it was you. He just saw the sign and called. Did he piece it together after you met him?
Never pieced it together.
Okay.
Did you piece it together?
Yeah, how did you?
Yeah.
Same last name.
Okay.
Same last name.
You know how many wins there are in the world, though?
Yeah. I'm sure he does.
Are you related to all of them?
Maybe in some way, shape, or form.
That's why there's so many first, second, and third cousins in this story. All right.
Yeah, no, but it was pretty cool. That was one of the best. That was probably the best deal, apart from my primary residence. I live in a fourplex right now, and I got it for $365. It's probably worth $550, and I still live in it. I got it with a FHA loan, 3.5%. The note interest rate is 2.5%. I got some PMI on it, whatever. But oh man, that thing is great. I have a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath apartment, so it's like 2 duplexes on one lot, and there's an extra lot next door. So I mean, I don't want to really build an ADU right next to my primary residence, so maybe I'll do that in the future.
You already got 3 other units right next to you. You might as well put an ADU.
I might as well put it. I don't know. It feels like I live in a pretty nice community, you know. Everyone, they're not like directly next to me, and my next door unit is a 1-bed, 1-bath efficiency that I use for Airbnb, so I get some variable income on there. So any given month, maybe my gross is between $3,000 and $4,500. My mortgage is $2,100, and my utilities and everything's my utilities and everything else is probably another $500 to $700, just depending on the month.
Yeah, you live for free.
So you've been doing this for 6, 7, 8 years.
Yeah.
Are you still focused on wholesaling and flipping, or are you starting to buy and hold?
I started buy and hold, and then I jumped into wholesale flip. Yeah. And wholesales, you know.
So
Yeah.
going back a little bit to that first deal you did you only send one mailer? How many mailers did you have to send to buy that first flip?
That first flip, under 100.
Yeah.
It was crazy ratio. We were getting a lot of calls back then. I think we were one of the first people in Delaware to actually use Deal Machine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it worked well. And then you flipped like 9 other houses, right, in college after that one or something, or you bought and hold
I bought
units?
a bunch on seller carry notes because I was one of the first. I was like one of the few people who were doing direct to seller marketing in 2020 in Delaware. So I come across some of these old 1980s landlord. I mean, they're not old. It's just like, you know, they just been in the game for a while. Seasoned investors, you know, and they wanted to get out. They want to sell the house as is, and they're offering great terms, like 7% IOs or whatever, and they only wanted like 15% down, and I made $50,000, so that's where I spent my money.
Okay, so you bought a bunch of rentals with that.
Yeah, basically
And self-managed.
self-managed everything.
So did you learn that from your family also? Were they self-managing, or?
They self-manage a lot. My main thing was rehab them, pretty nice, get the mechanicals strong, get them like pretty much brand new, and you won't have much issues.
So did you finish college?
I finished college. Yeah.
All right.
I was hanging
So you
out.
made your aunt and uncle happy.
I kind of lost. I became like estranged from them going into college because they didn't really like that I was doing real estate.
Really?
I wanted to do the hustle, you know.
What do they think now?
They think I work pretty hard and I earn everything that I have, but I think they feel kind of salty that they're wrong. So they don't really want to associate themselves with me.
Because they gave you some advice, you didn't take it. That's all right. You blazed your own path, and you did good for yourself.
Yeah. I wish that, you know, they could be happy for me, and then it's like I could be a good role model to. I have a bunch of cousins that are like under 13, like a bunch. Like we're talking like 15 to 20, because I was one of the older cousins. And it's like, but maybe I'm not a good role model to them because I could easily have just not gone to college, or I could easily just not finish college and do what I'm doing. But if they knew the truth that you don't need college, I'd probably ruin everybody's American dream, whatever.
Yeah, because they get in, they skip school, and then they fail at the real estate gig. And then
My fault. It's my fault.
screw up their whole life path.
Yeah.
Huh, that's interesting. So, it sounds to me like you make a ton of money doing this in your company. So you're flipping, wholesaling. Go back to the what would you call it? Hoteling.
Wholesaling, like
I want to get to
wholesale
this
and
company
retail.
later.
You want to talk about that later? Okay,
Yeah, a little bit later because it's cool once you dive into it. It'll be interesting. But like, I want to keep going like through what got you to that point. So like, how many deals did you buy while in college? Like, what kind of stuff? You bought these seller carry things and they cash flow a bunch, and you reach financial independence, or
Pretty much. By the time I had met you, Trevor.
because I met you when like 3 years ago, probably now.
Yeah, it was the year after the first Maui Mastermind. But the first Maui Mastermind, I had about 11 units, and I probably was in like the 6 to 800K net worth range. Honestly, none of this really matters. It's like, how much money do you actually have in your pocket? It's like, how easy is it for you to tap into this, and how much are you making annually? I think that's like the most important metrics. But back then it was like, oh man, how much equity do you have in your rentals?
Yeah.
I wasn't really thinking of like how much cash flow I was making, and like, am I budgeting for CapEx and repairs? I was not. I was just taking everything, putting it in my pocket, and then it's like, maybe I was going to do what the old landlords were doing, and eventually I'll go sell it to some other sap young investor and sell it carry notes in as-is condition on top-end prices. That was kind of what I was thinking. I was just like, I'm just going to take the money, put it in my pocket now. And that's actually what I'm doing right now. I rehabbed the properties. Some of these tenants have moved out. I'm liquidating them, and I've taken all the cash flow from the previous years. Maybe I do a little bit of paint and floor remodel, and I'm going to list it back onto the market so I can get an owner user onto these properties, take the capital, focus on my business now. But at that point, I was chasing after financial independence by owning units. I didn't think, hey, I need to have a actual business. There was a point in time where like midway to 2022, I saw the market shift when the interest rates went from 5% on DSCR loans to like 8% on DSCR loans. And then I realized, wow, this BRRRR model does not really work. Does not really work anymore. And it's like, you can't really make a business model depending on like outside forces, essentially.
So you're really good at what we call the now money game. You're out there, you're bringing in big paydays. How do you, there's no tax advantage to that. You write big checks to the government, or how do you avoid paying taxes?
So right now, I'm focusing on generating now money, get really good at that skill, and I'm not really focused on saving on the taxes as much as like I'm here to refine and sharpen the skill. And it's a whole nother skill to invest that thing and make sure that you get the tax benefits and maximize every single dollar. So I'm going to focus on that within the next 18 and 24 months. But right now it's like, get the thing up to
make as much as you possibly can.
As much as we possibly can.
At some point, you're going to realize you have to start stacking buildings onto your real estate schedule, or the government's just going to take every penny you're making.
Yeah. One of my big things is, like you guys have said in the past, the deal comes to you. As long as you're out there. I like that I'm in the real estate space. I'm in the off-market real estate space. I'm always networking with people. I'm always trying to tell people what I'm doing. So it's like, when the deal comes to me, I know the deal is there, and you just got to be ready for it, ready to pounce. So that's why I like staying liquid. I like having all these investors in my back pocket. I know, I'm not over leveraged by having these properties on my balance sheet for only up to 6 months at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can make these decisions versus, okay, I have some friends, for instance, who are in the BRRRR game, and maybe they're really light on cash at pretty much all times. I'm like, I don't even know how these guys afford their lifestyles.
It's like me and Trevor. We have a lot of buildings and no cash.
Got a lot of cash right now.
We have some.
He has a lot of cash right now. He has more cash than me right now.
I talked to Jesse when I ran out of cash, and I was like, man, I don't know how to pay for all this. And he was like, why don't you just sell some stuff?
Yeah.
And then I sold some stuff.
Because that's how his brain works, not yours.
Yeah.
So, Trevor talks about you in one of our podcasts trying to solve the problem. He needed you to solve his problem.
It's simple. I mean, doesn't Dave Ramsey say that too? It's just like, oh, if you're in debt, go find stuff that you could sell,
I'm a collector, though. I don't want to sell my possessions.
Yeah, Trevor's the next Paul Curley. All he does is hoard real estate. He's never thought about selling anything before.
I don't know. I think there's a good balance.
So you said something interesting. You said attracting the deals to you. Is there anything besides networking and telling people what you do that you do to attract deals to yourself?
No, that's the main thing. That's the most organic way. Building reputation, doing deals, following up with people. I think that's the main thing. The big real estate owners just keep on trying to get a hold of them, because it's really hard to get a hold of some of these guys. They don't want to waste their time, because as much as we would love to find the guy who's really bored and has a bunch of property and he's retired from his business or something like that and just owns these properties, some of these guys, they're really just spending their time very wisely, whether it's with their families or they're still working to some capacity. They don't want to spend their time with a rando. So but if you're a really persistent guy, maybe they'll spend maybe a morning with you, and that's where you get an opportunity to kind of pitch yourself.
You've mentioned reputation a couple of times. How do you lean on your reputation as you go? Does this get easier for you as you go to say hey, if you don't believe me, look at my track record or talk to these people? How do you leverage your reputation?
So one of the things that that makes us different than all the other wholesale companies in Delaware is that we have an actual brick and mortar. I think that a lot of people have small brick and mortars, whether it's a suite in a building or something like that. We had a co-working space about 2-3 years ago, but in 2023, October 2023, we had the opportunity to close on this 3,200 square foot Victorian building. This is an example of when the deal comes to you. I was on Facebook, right? So my friend Andy, he posts this deal on Facebook, and it's on there for 25 minutes. And he's like, hey, if you want to work in this place, it'd be a really great opportunity. 475 Victorian building inside the city of Wilmington, literally 5 minutes away from the downtown district, still city of Wilmington. Great location, it's around 1 minute away from the best private school in the entire state. So this is a really, really prestigious neighborhood. So I contact my attorney. His name is EJ. I was like, hey, EJ, you want to go look at this building with me? Maybe we can go in on it together. I don't know. So it's 11 a.m. We're scheduled for an appointment to go look at it with Andy at 1 p.m. We go look at it. It's a Friday. We go put an LOI on it, and we get the LOI accepted at the end of the weekend. It's in EJ's name because, I don't know, the person selling the building was an estate attorney, and EJ is a real estate attorney, does, litigation and whatever. And we signed the contract, 30-day DD, 60-day close, $25,000 earnest money. I put up the earnest money for this thing. After 30 days of due diligence, EJ falls out of the deal. He doesn't want to do it.
I've had that happen.
Yeah.
How'd that feel?
I was like, how am I going to close this deal? What's crazy? I proposed seller carry terms on this deal where it was $475 plus another $125 on a second note. And then it was not even I was requesting a credit. I was requesting I forgot exactly, but I would have essentially a, what's it called?
Like a war chest? You're trying to build.
I was going to have a war chest of around $60,000.
Yeah.
But that was a lot of leverage. I could not handle that.
So you were going to over borrow on it from the seller?
I basically came back from Oregon hanging out with this guy. And I was like, I'm going to go do one of these seller carry deals. And literally shanked myself. This is how you not do a seller carry deal.
So you did it wrong, you're saying?
So my mother-in-law comes back into the store, and she's looking at the deal. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. Just offer them straight $475 and 20% down. And just buy it.
Just buy it.
And then my mother-in-law brought the $100,000. Praise God, And then I get DSCR note. I go do all the paperwork and everything for it. $380,000 principal balance to start with, and then I got basically a second note for $100,000 from them for them.
So you're paying back your mother-in-law. She's just a personal note for you to help you fund it. She's not a partner.
Wait, why didn't you just take the note from the seller then if you took it from your mother-in-law?
The seller did not have that much equity in this deal, to be honest, because their payoff was about $320, and they were selling for $475, and they still had to pay their commissions and everything. If they seller carried everything, they're walking away with nothing.
Yeah, not enough money in the deal.
There's nothing There's nothing for them.
So you bought this, but you have a business partner, but your business is not in this building though. So your business rents from you.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah. So this is a really great deal. So we're going back to reputation, right? So it's like we get this amazing building. It's like you have all these attorneys that run their business out of these shacks. I'm sure you see this.
Yeah.
So it's like people run their attorney firm out of their house.
Like Better Call Saul.
Isn't that crazy? Is that crazy? I mean, kudos to them. Keep your expenses super low. I mean, luckily we got this building, and it only cost me like $3,200 a month for a mortgage for this place. But it makes us look so good. It makes us look so good.
It was worth it.
It was worth it. So a lot of sellers, they love to come in, and they feel like we're super legit, you know. So this is a residential building with the previous attorney got a variance for commercial offices or like professional offices. So we're legally able to run our business out of this thing. I got 7 offices. So I'll tell you guys about the future plan. But for the most part, it's like even when business associates come through, owners, you know, sellers, they come through, they feel like, yeah, these guys are going to close my deal. It's really good. We even have this young attorney. His name is Jerry. He's like 32. He comes to the office to do the closings. Like we coordinate all these things. And we do this thing inside our wholesale company where we run split settlements. So buyer and seller sign separately just make it less awkward, because if you have an assignee, everyone shows up to a settlement table and it's like, who the hell is this guy? And it's like, you've already spent this time to cultivate a relationship with the seller. You're talking about their future plans. You have this relationship with them. You've been walking them through this process for the last 4 to 6 weeks. And I feel like you can't really do that when you have this random assignee that making them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And they're just walking out, and you don't really have that time to, you know, ask them for a video testimonial because it feels awkward. Everyone just walk out of the building.
Yeah.
Business is done here, you know?
Get out, yeah.
Yeah.
So split settlement. I mean, that's what we do. Every deal in Oregon.
Do you guys do
settlement.
attorneys, or do you have title companies?
Attorneys,
yeah.
Attorneys.
So that's why is their efficiency.
So in states where you close with attorneys, oftentimes you're saying everybody's at the table together.
Unless you're in New York.
And they split them.
Then no one shows up to settlement. Everyone mails in their docs. Everyone hates wasting their time going to settlement. But people in Delaware are just like, settlement's like the biggest deal ever, you know?
That's funny.
But my assignees, I tell them ahead of time, let's just sign your docs. You send in the wire. I'll show up to settlement with the attorney and the seller, making them feel comfortable.
Yeah,
and
that's what your job is to do.
Yeah. I get the video testimony.
Concierge.
I get the Google review. We have 86 5-star Google reviews for our business, Delaware Home Buyers.
Nice, dude.
As a wholesaler, that's insane.
I don't know that there's a collection of 86 positive reviews for all the wholesalers in the state of Oregon.
So when did you pivot? So you were doing the whole cash flow thing, and then when did you pivot more to the now money thing? Like at what point?
We were trying to do it in 2022, but we failed miserably. I was self-funding the business, but we were not measuring anything. So we lost a lot of money, and then the business had to pay me back across 2023. And I think we made like a $30,000-$40,000 profit across like $300,000 in revenue in 2023. That sucked.
And you were just not tracking any of it. You had no idea what was going.
Yeah. Actually, in 2023, we got everything that our numbers said we would make. We just were afraid to spend more. So in 2024, we turned on the jets when it came to marketing. So we got pretty much everything we were supposed to get in terms of our multiples, you know, our ROAS, right? Return on ad spend. So it worked out a lot better in 2024 when we went in there ruthlessly and started performing, and then had, you know, what's it called? They say the metaphor is having a well-sealed bucket to catch the water. You know, when you have a faucet that's dripping, and if you had holes in your bucket, let's say lead management, you only had one lead manager, but you had so many leads, a lot of water is falling out of the bucket. You're not managing that. You're not capitalizing on a ton of revenue that could be caught. So we had really good, solid systems going into 2024 with our lead management, and all we needed was one home buying specialist, which is our acquisition, and then me on disposition or investment sales. So we basically caught as much water as we possibly can and got $1.4 million in revenue on like a 40% profit margin for this type of business.
Nice work.
Isn't that pretty
Good
insane?
job.
And scaling still.
Yeah, that was
That's a big jump from $300K to 1.4.
Well, yeah.
four
and
and
profit
1/2x.
too. Like
No, it was 40% profit. Yeah.
from $30,000 profit to.
And Johnny's still your partner?
No, Kenny's my partner.
Okay,
No,
Johnny was just the first guy.
Yeah, Johnny runs a chicken restaurant now.
Okay.
Yeah, they're doing Greek food or something like that.
All right. He's jealous of what you're doing, probably.
He got his own life. We're still buddies.
But so what switched in your brain? Because you were wanting to do cash flow, financial independence, like you did it, and then you're like, let me scrap all that and make some money now? Or
No,
Probably needed some money.
Yeah, I needed some money.
Blew his load on some cash flowing real estate. He likes to be liquid. Remember, you can't be liquid if you make a bunch of down payments.
No, that's precisely right. Well, I realized that I wasn't really good at business when I was doing this one flip that took me 13 months to do, and I ran into permitting issues, and I ran over timeline and over budget, and I still made $30,000, and I realized at that moment the market has saved me, but the market won't save me every single time.
That's right.
That could have easily been a negative $30,000 deal. Right now I'm going through a negative $50,000 deal that I'm realizing on February 28th, so I'm kind of excited to just get that thing off the books. But this year, we're being a lot more diligent when it comes to making decisions on what properties we want to take on and what properties are willing not to purchase. Because even if you spend like $1,000 on due diligence, but you walked away from a minus $20,000 deal, that's a good deal. So now we're investing more time and more money into due diligence. We have this other home inspector. His name is Kenny as well.
You love Kenny's.
Yeah.
Isn't that Mike's advice? The best deals you ever do. Best deals. What is it? The best deals are the ones you don't do. I don't know. I heard it from you.
I've said that before.
I've heard it from you on Deal Junkies before.
I've said that before.
The most money you'll ever make is on a deal you don't do. Something like that.
I was minus $20,000 on one deal last year.
Oh, that's
minus,
not bad.
Minus $60,000 on this deal in Maryland, which is crazy because we had to buy this one buyer's house. So they were the seller on that deal in Maryland. We bought their house so they could buy our deal. We made $67,000 and giving it right back as we're selling their house. And what's crazy is I got a third-party appraisal from a hard money lending company. They were like, "Yeah, that's $475." I'm in the process of selling for $385.
Oh gosh,
I know, right?
So you had a flip on the market, and you bought your buyer's house so they could qualify to buy your flip,
Yes,
and then you lost money on their house.
yes.
That's awesome.
That's creative.
That is a learning experience.
That's karma for buying Daniel's house.
Do you feel like
Learning
this
experience.
this downturn in the market? Do you feel like it's making you better at what you do?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think people always say it's hard to find deals.
Mm-hmm.
It's always going to be hard to find deals if you're not in the business of finding deals, or if you don't have any type of measurables on how you're going to find these deals. Like, how many people are you calling? How many people are you making offers? How many appointments are you going on? So it's like, honestly, I'm not that guy. I have a COO that measures all those things. I can go onto my Salesforce dashboard, hit refresh on my reports. I can find those numbers, but I'm not really the guy. But as long as somebody actually is tracking those things, all is well. And as long as you check them, and maybe you have like some type of additional accountability to also check it, so it's not just you. It's got my partner Kenny. Even though he's a sales guy, he's actually like pretty obsessed about this business too. He's great. He's great. As long as you have those people looking over the numbers and you're also paying attention to them and you're also putting your insight, yeah, you have a business and you can make predictable revenue, you know?
That's amazing. Yeah, to be able to track your revenue generating activities. Mike talks about that too. Like to figure out where you're wasting time and who on your team should be playing what role. That's pretty important. You've recognized yourself as not being the person to make sure that everybody's on track to what they need to be doing, but you do play an important role in the team.
Yeah. So so we all have a number, right? So my thing as the dispo agent, I need to focus on how many properties are there above 14 days when it's listed on the market. At that point, you know, this is our stoplight report. We have a stoplight report where everybody has their numbers, and it's like if it's red for 3 weeks in a row, okay, now there's a real problem. We're gonna have to address it and come up with a solution. So my thing is days on market for retail properties, and then days contract in hand without assignment. You know, so try to keep it under 13 days. Otherwise, we gotta go figure this out. So even if it turns yellow, I gotta go back to the seller and figure something out. Otherwise, hey, we have to cancel this contract, or we have to renegotiate the price, or we're going to need to buy it ourselves.
How do you decide what a wholesale versus a flip? Like when you're going to actually do the reno yourself? It's just numbers?
How heavy is the renovation, and do we have the time to do that heavy of a renovation? Like, I'm not against doing full gut. Like, in the winter, if we're really slow, I'll take one on, and we can get that done in like 8 weeks and toss it back onto the market. But I can't handle 3 full guts at once.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we have the wholesale segment of our business. And then it's like, what contracting crews do we have available, and what's their capacity, what's their capability? Because some of these guys can't frame for anything,
Are they on your team, or are these third-party subs you hired?
They're third-party subs that we hire. My dad has a company. Him and I work together on that, and then we have another contracting company. So we have 2 sets of contractors, essentially.
Okay.
One set of contractors can do cosmetics pretty well, and then my dad's guys can do the framing and all the cosmetics. But we have like subcontractors for all the mechanicals, and we have subcontractors for the drywall, because it's cheaper to hire those guys.
Mm-hmm.
When all they're doing is hanging and sanding drywall. They're way better than us.
And you must give them enough business to where you can make sure you show up on their schedule when you need them.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know. Delaware is kind of small, so it's like I haven't run into the issue where they've had so much work to the point that they cannot fit us on their schedule, which is kind of weird. I don't know. Do you guys feel that out here?
No, I mean, we're big enough to where we get their attention, but I think that a lot of investors, especially when they're newer, that's one pitfall you run into is you come up with a plan for what your schedule is going to be, and you don't realize you don't have enough pull to get your subs on your on that timeline where you need them to get the project done. One or 2 different subs can turn your 8-week project into a 16-week project overnight.
We hired this new GC, and we were trying to test him out, and we gave him 3 or 4 weeks, and then my partner Kenny fired him. He was just like, "Hey man, we're not your main He was bringing like 2 guys to the job. He wasn't even there. He was just saying 2 guys. Nothing was really moving.
Not a priority.
We were not a priority because he was doing all the other flippers' jobs as well. So that's something you got to pay attention to.
Do you think you'll bring some of that more in-house just simply to have control of it?
I don't know. Little by little. I think if we're scaling in wholesales and then maybe doing between 10 and 15 flips per year, which I define a flip anything over 4 weeks, and a wholesale is a renovation under 4 weeks, So it's like if we're able to do significantly more wholesales, we're spending a lot less time doing construction, and cash conversion cycles are quicker. It will get that revenue on the board for the year, and then maybe we just keep the renovations kind of steady.
Where'd you learn all this stuff you're talking about? Is this from college or your family? Like, no 26-year-old talks about cash conversions and all these things you're talking about. Are you just born this way or what?
No, I went to the Collective Genius Mastermind, and that's where I met like a ton of other wholesalers who had similar problems, cash conversion cycles, and people not working to build a business, but they're just, they built a job for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that community, everyone's now working to build a legit business, and maybe they're sitting in a seat and working a role because they like working the role, or they're just like, at this time, I just can't find anybody for the seat, so I'm going to work the seat. And then we have a consultant now as well. It's called Sharper Business Solutions. They're based out of Indiana, and 90% of their business is wholesale and flippers.
Really?
It's kind of crazy. Yeah.
Sharper Business Solutions.
Tell them what they do for you and what it costs and all that.
Oh yeah. So I don't know if I can share what they cost, but I'm in the range of like between 40 and 50 a year for these guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's worth it though.
Yeah. So they did their first consultation with. We actually wanted to hire them for like the last 18 months, but we did not have the financials to we didn't want to make the investment. Maybe we had the financials, but we just didn't want to make the investment. So we realized if we want to get to where we want to be, which is like another 30% growth, I think we're going to need to bring out the big guns, So there's this guy named Gary Harper and his wife Susan Harper, but they have a team. So we had a guy named Brandon McCurdy come out to us January 21 and 22, full 8-hour days, 9 to 5. With a working lunch, maybe like a 30-minute lunch basically, and then get back to work, lunch gets delivered. And we're basically talking about like, who do we have on staff? We do this thing called predictive index, which is like, you ever heard of Myers-Briggs? It's something similar. So they're training us to hire and manage our people based off of this predictive index, where in the past we hired the people based off that personality type, but how do we supplement their training? How do we manage them? How do we, help them thrive in this work environment? We never really thought about that. So they're helping us with all of these different considerations. in, leveling up our existing team, as well as, hey, what other personnel do we need in order to get to our goals in the future? Like our goal in the future be between $4 and $4.5 million in revenue, serve 800 families in the next 5 years, and run down like a 35% profit margin. So we'll need about 21 staff, and we're about 9 to 10 right now.
Okay, so you're halfway there.
Yeah.
Who recommended you use Sharper Business Solutions? How'd you find them?
They're a vendor from Collective Genius.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Collective Genius is the mastermind you went to. This is not the Brandon Turner one you guys met at. This is a different mastermind. So you've been going to a lot of masterminds, it sounds like.
So I went to, so 2022 was kind of crazy because they had a bunch of events. I think that was the year of events, like, the Pace Morby events, Max Maxwell events. Everyone's teaching you how to wholesale and run a business, and people speaking from stage, But that's not where the meat and potatoes of like business growth happens. It's actually in like collaborative circles, people talking about their problems, workshops, people asking questions to people who are actual operators. And I don't know if the people on the stage were actual operators or they just promoters, honestly. I think that was one of the big things.
Salespeople. Yeah.
People could not really decipher because like a guy like Max Maxwell, I'm not even sure if you guys ever heard of him, but he was on YouTube. He was one of the biggest wholesalers. I don't know the biggest wholesalers in North Carolina, but between 2016 and 2018, he was that guy, Like my partner Kenny, his idol was Max Maxwell. He wanted to be like this guy because masterful sales guy. He had videos of him talking to sellers. He was like, ripping deals, Oh, I thought I lost myself for a second. But this guy is just going on stage, and I guess he's selling education and not really operating his business, or maybe he's just wholesaling like 2 deals a month, maybe 2 to 5. I don't know what his business actually. No one talks about the detail of what they actually do when they're on that stage.
Yeah,
and I think that's one of the biggest red flags when you are being pitched the product. It's just like, oh, what do you actually do, or what is your business experience? Or it's like, if you're not working in the business, at what points were you working in the business, and what did you get up to, and what does it look like today? Are you still running the business? Do you have a COO? I think these are the questions I wish I had asked prior to going to some of these like waste of time events. I've been to Future Flipper by Ryan Pineda. Ryan Pineda, one of the big educators. And I mean, I don't know. I think he actually operates the businesses, because I think the economy pulled back and made some of his businesses fail. And then he had to go back into some of these seats and operate some capacity. But that guy's a master marketer, master salespeople, and not saying that you can't be a master marketer, a master salesperson, and not
be an operator.
Yeah, not be an operator. But it's like, I think a lot of people realize, I think I'm better off making my money selling.
There's a lot of
knowledge.
It's a lot easier to make money being a master marketer than it is a master operator. And especially the way that there's excess capital out there. What would you rather go do? Hustle in your real estate business and take on risk to go and create capital, or create a program and an education program that has no risk, that is like printing money?
This is another way of making now money in real estate.
Exactly.
Through education.
Yeah.
How much money have you spent on like education, masterminds, and all that stuff?
In total, over the past couple of years, like easily over $100,000. Was like
worth it, you think?
Yeah, definitely worth it. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the knowledge that we have. I think like knowledge is real. I don't want to say like knowledge is power, but it's like knowledge is really what moves the needle forward, and it helps what's possible, what you can do. Like our consultant who came into our meeting was like, I like how realistic you guys are, because you guys are not just saying $10 million or $50 million, and it's like, we can draw a path and do the forecasting and everything, but are you willing to work to build a $10 to $50 million wholesale company? Like, that sounds horrible, and like, you're going to be reinvesting into this company to get to that point. You're not going to make money for 3 to 5 years. Do you want to do that so you can have this $50 million company? And then we're just like, I mean, that's not us, but he was like saying, these are some of the other people that he has run consulting sessions for. It's like, wow, that's real.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like, okay, we go shoot to make a $2 million company, we're going to profit 600. And I was like, that's pretty nice. That's pretty nice. I'll walk away with that, in my mid-20s.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, they say if you can't do, you teach, but I think you just start a podcast, right?
It's the shortcut to teaching.
The difference is Deal
You can't
Junkies.
teach, you start a podcast.
We actually do deals, and
We're just having fun.
We're having fun.
We're not trying to make money. We're trying to have fun.
We just get juice talking about our deals.
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about getting into the education space yourself. Would that just be as a give back to the real estate community, or do you feel like there's actually a way to make a lot of money doing that would be better than what you're doing right now?
So in terms of my contribution to education, like my local real estate community, I hosted like a local meetup like you guys. I think that's a really big thing if you want to establish long-term reputation and just be in the know of like who's doing deals nowadays, who's not doing deals, and how can you collaborate with people in your local market. And, people, they vouch for you even if they've never done a deal with you.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the biggest. It's like a relationship capital.
Sure. Builds cred.
It also is it's the bouncer to the people around you. Because if you host meetups, you don't really have a choice to hang out with people that are not in your industry. You don't have a choice to hang out with people that are kind of just being not supportive of what you're doing. You're creating the actual environment, so you have to live the environment.
You're building the community.
Yep.
That's cool.
Oh, can you tell us how innovations work?
I don't like doing innovations anymore, man.
Tell us why you don't like doing them.
Tell us what it is and why you don't.
Wait. I thought Ryan Pineda was shifting his whole business model to innovations. Why would you not want innovation?
I just don't think that there is enough value in it for the seller for what you're doing for them, and you're kind of misleading them. So this is kind of my whole premise, as well as like it's very clunky. There's a lot of things to manage. For instance, you're telling the seller, okay, let's say you're not lying at all to the seller and you're going to go sell this thing on the market, and for a markup of what you have it under contract for, you're going to go to the market. It's like, why wouldn't the seller have done that themselves if they're going to need to wait anyways? Okay, maybe you're doing the renovations for FHA appraisal or a conventional appraisal for them. Sure, that sounds great. But honestly, it's like you're going in there, it's still the same amount of time. They're getting less money. You're making money. And then you have to coordinate showings now. So instead of using them using an agent and then them being looped in with the app we use is called Showing Time. So everyone's like syndicated onto it. So seller, agent, buyer's agent, everyone is in the know-how. You got to manually, maybe I just didn't figure it out, but it's like at some point the dispo agent was the one that was getting the buyers, from the MLS, and then had to go accompany the buyer's agent and their buyers.
It's getting into the broker world that you originally
sucks.
Yeah.
It honestly really sucks. And it's like you're selling a product that is also not very nice. So people are not ready to move into houses that need a lot of work. So you were at a disadvantage there too, because you probably lost about
I thought innovation though, you were rehabbing the building.
Tell us what innovation is.
That's a level of innovation. So innovation is essentially doing the first procedure of wholesaling, which is getting the property under contract for the seller or with the seller at a low price. And you're now, instead of exiting to a list of private buyers, you're exiting to the multiple listing service. So maybe your pitch to the seller is that I'm going to take it to the open market and make a markup on it, and I'll take care of any of the repairs that needs to be made by the end buyer, in which you don't want to spend money and outlay cash to do. Cool, that sounds like a great service, I guess, but it's very complicated now. So it's like you don't own the house, you have the contract for
you're spending
house.
Money on somebody else's house.
Exactly, and then you're depending on the seller to come to closing and sign this HUD plus deed over to this other person. And it's like, yeah, you can coordinate and everything. It's a lot of transaction coordination headache as well. So it makes your process super labor intensive.
Yeah, and if you think about it, you're just working harder on the back end portion of it rather than working harder on just getting a good deal and getting capital.
Yeah. So this is where I transitioned, and I just started sub-2ing most of these deals, where it's just like, how much are you going to walk away with net? 15, 20, 25,000? Okay. So we're going to sign up the contract for that and put subject to clauses inside our contract. I'm going to take it to my title company, and to get around our 4% transfer taxes, I'm just going to say our purchase price is $25,000 instead of $225,000, because that's what the value is.
So you're paying 4% on the actual equity.
Yeah. And then we're just going to pay the seller out $25,000. subject to this 200 grand. So I don't need to originate a whole new loan for $200,000. And I have enough personal relationships that I can find bridge debt, from private individuals for 10 to 12%, interest only APR, secured in second position, personal guaranteed, finish this rehab in under 2 months, sell this property, take another 2 to 3 months, exit this property in total under 6 months, and everyone made money. We got the deal, spent less money on transfer taxes, got the seller out of the picture, have the title because we bought it subject to, we could sign the deed. So the chain of title makes more sense for it to go from them to us to the end buyer, rather than go from them to the end buyer and we got paid this novation fee, this miscellaneous novation fee on the HUD, which now you have to. At one point in the process, I was explaining to the seller, this is our novation fee because it's coming off the seller side of the HUD, which is like,
and they see how much you made,
and it's like, no, I spent $60,000 to do this rehab. Well, I had a $60,000 cash outlay on this project, and that's pretty jacked up because I don't have any interest technically in this property. I don't own any of this deed.
Yeah.
Were you clouding title with those, or?
You could, but then you end up in litigation. So it's a lose-lose. So you would just hope that the property closes and you get your money back.
But they might not show up to closing, and then you're just
what
out.
if they die?
Yeah.
But
weren't you pre-signed? Weren't you getting like power of attorney and stuff like that, or no?
We only got limited power of attorney to list the properties. People don't want to give you power of attorney to sign the deed. And honestly, that's a kind of a gray area. Attorneys, some, depending on who their title agent is, may not want to write a title policy for a power of attorney, or they just feel really uncomfortable. It's like, hey, if the actual seller can come sign the deed anyway,
just have them sign it.
Just have them sign the deed. Now I gotta go explain to them the whole HUD and everything,
So that's what you mean by it being clunky. It's not clean. The chain of title's not clean. Nothing's clean. At the end of it, you're basically charging for a service, and the only real benefit would be to not have to go find money, I guess, because you're using the seller. So sub 2 is a lot cleaner.
And I'll spend a little bit more money on basically an extra set of attorney fees plus like the transfer taxes. I'll pay that just so I don't have to deal with all this other headache. So, I can take on a little bit tighter deals if I don't have to pay $10,000 to $12,000 in transfer taxes, but I paid 2 to 3. And it's like I could pay the seller maybe a little bit more, or I can make a deal pencil out because my minimum profit for a flip is 35 grand and my minimum profit for a wholesale is 30 grand. So it's like I can make deals that pencil out, or like, newer houses that may not pencil out as a fix and flip because you have origination costs of the loan, and then you got to pay a big transfer tax bill for acquisition of a $200,000 asset. It's like now it's like eating your profit because you're paying the state, in the county or whatever.
So when you're acquiring, you're overcoming a big portion of that transfer tax, but when you sell as a seller, there's no way around it.
Yeah, there's no way around it.
You're just going to pay the 4%.
Yeah, you just underwrite it.
Bake it into your model.
Yeah, I only need to pay 2%. And I use a flat fee listing agent, so I'll pay $500 to the listing side, and I'll pay 2 to 2.5 points for the buyer's agent. So I run that transaction, all the way through to the end, and then I get paid like my commission off of net profit from the company, and it's like fine. We always got deals going on. I think this year we'll do like about 80 closed transactions. Last year we did about 56, 57 closed transactions. Yeah, no, this is a 6-figure job.
Yeah,
and then we have profit share on top of that. So it's like, and we're a team. We like working together. This is fine. I'd rather do this than be a solo realtor, make it 2.5 points. But it's like, it's all dependent upon me,
Yeah.
I have a dispo agent, or I have a dispo assistant. I have an executive assistant. Like I have
a team.
I have a team. So I have a lot of infrastructure. And I just did not like how the novation model, it was not really a process or procedure. Everything was different every single time. And it was just really hard to make sense of it. Versus what I'm doing now is just like, get it closed. Raise the money, everything makes sense on a process map.
Okay. Before we wrap this, you got to tell me what wholesale is.
Wholesale and retail, man.
So explain.
So there are some properties where it's just like, it's too good of a deal. It's very, very good deal. And if we give it any more time, we could possibly get shopped around, and then maybe he goes and signs another contract with somebody else, even though we do have it under contract. And so sellers can commit perjury and go close with somebody else, miss out on the deal. So the way we go about it is like, go close it, get the title transferred and recorded, and then now you could do whatever you want with it. Seller's out of the picture, you know? So we did a wholesale deal back in December. I think I got the lead. Actually, I got the lead the week of Thanksgiving. So November 21. The guy was really distressed in California, had this property in Delaware, and it got wrecked. And he was offered $101,000 from a wholesaler in Ohio. You know, not Delaware, Ohio, just like Ohio. And it's like, it was a weird story because his friend saw an ad from this guy in Ohio, you know, TV ad, and told him about it. So he tried to wholesale this Delaware property to a guy in Ohio, and then the guy tries to virtual wholesale it in our market. He's demanding like $185,000, so $80,000 spread, right?
It's a good old 90%, no big deal.
Yo,
I like those margins.
Freaking crazy. So I'm talking to this guy, and he's like, dude. So it was actually a $105,000 contract, and the guy tried to renegotiate him back down to 100. I'm like, what kind of scumbag? That's crazy, man. So I'm telling you, I could walk the property today, and I can give you a number later this afternoon. We'll figure it out. I walk it. I'm like, okay, 125 is the number. Let me pay you $25,000 sub 2. I'll take over your $100,000 mortgage. The guy was about to walk with $1,000 away from the other deal.
Jeez.
And then he was going to walk with 25 with us. And he was like, okay, I'll go sign it with you guys. And what's funny is my friend was going to receive the assignment from the other guy, but he was like, 185 is too much. I could pay like 160. The guy did not want to take his chips off the table and just close at 160.
So you got it at 125 instead.
So this is where the power of the wholesale, where you closing, actually, like a lot of wholesalers don't think about closing because they're just like trying to trade contracts or whatever, and maybe they spend the money on cards and they don't have actual cash to go do these things. We paid the guy the $25,000. We paid the set of closing costs. Maybe it cost $30,000 to close this deal, but I had the deal closed and recorded November 29th. I sold and closed recorded on December 13th for $185,000. So we made a $50,000 profit.
So you really weren't wholesaling because you took title to it.
It's like, wholesale. That's the wholesale.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's that easy. It's just a quick flip without doing anything.
Yeah. It's a flip without going through the 2 or 3 month reno process and marketing and everything.
Yeah. But that guy had the contract with our seller, and I'm surprised that he didn't cloud the contract. But that's why I wanted to take title. So it's like, okay, even if you did record it, it doesn't attach because you're recording a memorandum against the seller who's not the seller.
Yeah, it's a cardinal rule in real estate is to not go under contract with 2 buyers. It's kind of like the worst thing you can do in real estate.
Well, I mean, it's fraud.
Yeah, you're not. I mean, what do you do with all that?
Perjury.
So okay, so you sold it. When you sold it for 185, did you bring it to the market, or was it just sold through channels you would normally wholesale through?
So I brought it to the market, and I contacted my private buyers and people in the market. I think I listed it for 175, and I was trying to get it bid up. And it's like, I contacted some of my other buyers, and one was willing to pay me 185. I was like, I'm gonna sell it to you, so I don't have to pay the broker 2.5% on the buy side. I was like, so I'm netting more. I'm getting $10,000 up, and I'm not paying 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
And then we knew the same attorney, so it was like, oh, it's going to my boy EJ. So the guy who was gonna buy the office, he's still my boy. So we bring the closing to him. Closes nice and clean. Title recorded. My friend's gonna flip the property, and I think he's making like 40 or 50 grand on it.
Everybody wins.
Do you sell them to them subject to, or do they come in with their money?
He came in with his own cash.
How come they don't just buy it subject to from you?
I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. What if they don't make the payment? I'm making the payment.
Yeah. Okay.
How'd the guy in California find you?
We had I think we paid for the lead. So we use pay-per-click. Or no, use pay-per-lead. We're going into pay-per-click, which is the difference is having your own Google ads versus somebody else running their Google ads and they're selling you the lead.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of what Trevor's doing, where he's getting the leads and he's just giving it off to these guys, you know?
I want to dive next episode into his whole business and how it works.
Okay.
I think it's cool.
All right.
But
should we wrap it up?
yeah, because we got to go to the meetup later. So
all right, cool.
Going.
All right, well, we'll come back. Jesse, thanks so much for joining us in the studio today. It's been fun hearing your story. We'll come back and we'll dive into deals a little deeper and into your business model.
Yeah. If people want to contact you, do you want them to contact you? And if so, how?
If they want.
Find them at a mastermind.
No, you can find me on Facebook. Jesse Nguyen, or you can go on.
You know how many Jesse Wins there are on Facebook, bro?
You know, if you
look at it. Let's look for an Asian guy. You'll find him.
You know what's really funny?
Yeah, no, Jesse Nguyen's name day is an Asian guy.
So if you go to ChatGPT and you type in who is Jesse Nguyen from Delaware,
it's you.
It's me.
It comes up with you.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? Honestly,
you're on Wikipedia or something.
You know, it searches the lawsuits, the state lawsuits first.
it searches everything. It searches everything. I even looked up my wife, who's like barely online, and I found like our not wedding page. You know, the not, and it was like, this is who Irene Nguyen is. You know, it's so funny. It's like I could look up who Gabe Johansson from Salem, Oregon is. You know,
I did that once. Yeah.
It's pretty nuts. So, I mean, our consultant was telling us, hey, look up who do I sell my house for cash for in Delaware and see what comes up. So,
and it gives you specific names?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Or companies.
There you go. If you want to find Jesse, go to ChatGPT and type it, Jesse Nguyen from Delaware.
At Jesse Nguyen at Instagram. You can go to, I mean, I have a podcast, but I haven't posted it in a year because I'm doing this business. I mean, if you're doing a podcast, you're not doing business.
And Nguyen is spelled N-G-U-Y.
And then shit's
Am I spelling it right? N-G-U-Y-E-N?
I know. Who is this guy? Who invited Delaware to Oregon?
I know, right?
Jeez. It's a good thing you like my friend Brandon. Otherwise, I'd have some issues.
All right, guys. You heard it there. Jesse Nguyen, friends with Brandon Turner. And Trevor Howard, the famous Jesse Nguyen from Delaware. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll come back and do a follow-up and talk more about deals. That's it. Thanks for listening.
All right,
we'll see you next time.